Today's Monday mobility. I'm going to use what's called the orb. Yours doesn't have to be called the orb. I'm going to use this today because I like the diameter of this ball for getting into the areas that I'm going to show you today. This ball has little grippies on it, which is actually really nice too. Sometimes I use this interchangeably with a softball because the softball's close in size, a little smaller, but close. But this one I like a little bit more because it does have those grippies on it. So the softball, you kind of have to hold in place as you work an area because otherwise it'll slip out from underneath you. You can also use a lacrosse ball if you don't have, this big grippy ball or anything of this size, a softball. Use a lacrosse ball. You're just gonna have to be a little bit more careful and maybe hold on to the ball as we work on these areas. So the areas I'm talking about today, the first one is going to be super important for shoulder range of motion. So this is I always call it the forgotten area because most people don't address this area or don't think to address the area until maybe their massage therapist works on it. So as I shared with you, I think it was last week, I am a massage therapist also. This is an area that I work on everybody, no matter who you are. And it never fails, especially with a new client. As soon as I address this area, people go, oh my God. Yeah, it's not a very pleasant area, and I'm actually not really looking forward to showing this to you today on myself because with all the raking I've been doing and the pulling and pushing, and then I've been working on my back, it's really tight, it's really sore, it's really tender, all those things, all those feelings that we get when it's an area that needs work. So what is that area? The first area is going to be your lats. So what are the lats? The lats are that big swimmer muscle, that V muscle in the back that you see on the swimmers that we all covet, we want so badly. If you're doing a lot of pull-ups, or like I mentioned, pulling motion, for me it's raking. I didn't even realize it, but all the raking I've been doing around here has really blown up my lats. So where are the lats? How are we gonna address it? So I just mentioned it's that V muscle on your back, right? Why is it important in shoulder range of motion? How does it even come into play? Well, this is how. So the lat, just real quick anatomy lesson before we get started. In this mid-back here area, I don't know if you can see very well, I should have a skeleton or something I can show you on. But the lat attaches on the back, right? Mid-back, it runs up the back, underneath the armpit, and attaches to the front of the arm. So when you go to raise your arm up overhead and you can't get full extension, you get this pull here. So a lot of people I see, they press up overhead and they can't get their arm into this range of motion. In fact, I'm kind of stuck with myself this morning. Those lats can come into play. It's not the only thing, but it is an area that a lot of people don't address. And I'm willing to bet if you address this area, you're gonna find it needs some work. So we're gonna do that today. You also can use a foam roller if you're looking for maybe a little less intensity, because that is a little less intense, but this is what I'm gonna show you today. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's go ahead and start on the right side. So I'm coming down to the ground, got my ball. My arm is gonna go up overhead. I'm gonna place the ball in this area here. So it's kind of at the bottom edge of my shoulder blade. Okay, and you'll know you're on the right area when you get down there. So come on down to the ground, on your side. Oh, there it is. The arm, you can do a couple different things with it. One, you can bend it and kind of support the head. This puts you in a little bit more relaxed position. Or two, you can stretch that arm out. When you stretch that arm out, it's gonna put more stretch on your lats themselves, which is gonna create a little bit more intensity. So either way is fine, it's gonna be intense enough. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of relax into it here. Relax. That's a good word for today, relax, So, and then you've got a couple different things you can do. One is you can move forward and backwards. There it is. Lovely. So you're just kind of rocking forwards and backwards on that really tender spot. Trying to breathe. When you find the spot, you can kind of hang out there and breathe on it. Breathing into that tender area. Trying to sink deeper each time. Shift back a little bit. And the bad thing, this is not the worst side. My other side, I think, is tighter. But it's intense enough. Trying to relax. The other direction you can go. So I just mentioned you can go forward with the body and backward with the body. The other direction is up and down, right? So little movements. Oh, I don't like that direction. Up and down. You know, I could try to keep a straight face and not tell you how intense this is, but that wouldn't be real. That'd be fake. Why would I do that? And that would be much harder to keep a straight face than just to tell you, you know what, this hurts. Actually, I shouldn't say hurts, right? We don't differentiate a lot of times between what is hurting and painful and what is uncomfortable, right? So I'm not in pain right now. Yeah, it doesn't feel great, but I'm not in pain. It's uncomfortable. Okay, so now I'm gonna try a different position. I'm gonna kind of stretch it out. So you could spend, I don't want to say a great deal of time on this, but I could spend more time here and I could just work up and down that area, and I could not only grab onto the lats like we're working on, but I could also move up the armpit area more into the back of the shoulder and work on some of those rotator cuff muscles as well. Maybe grab a little bit of that posterior delt back there. So I definitely recommend exploring a little bit and not just concentrate on the lats. I mean, you can, that's not a problem. But there's a lot of other muscles that come into play when we talk about shoulders, right? So I went up a little bit. Now I'm going to come back down, because coming down is definitely an area as the lat comes around the back that gets a little gummed up. Now also, that I'm not just getting the lats. Obviously, there's a lot of muscle in there, a lot more than just one I'm on top of. There's also your serratus muscles that go across the rib cage. So as I'm rocking back and coming forward, I'm catching a little bit of those as well. And those are also those overhead pulling muscles. So another good area to address that kind of is accidentally addressed by getting the lats, depending on how far up or down you are on those lats. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a break, because I think I've had enough on that side. I'm sure you guys would agree with me. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the other side. So you might notice, just a notation here, that it's kind of a warmth when you come off of an area, and that's really good. You want that warmth. You want that blood flow to return. You're not pushing the blood out, so to speak, but you kind of are, because you're putting that pressure on those areas. So I'm going to go ahead and come on down. So if you notice the warmth, that's what's happening there. That blood flow is coming back to that area. Okay. I'm going to find that spot again. Oh, don't have to go far for it. It's right there. Oh, this one, like I said, has been the side that's been, let's say, bothering me, but this shoulder is definitely a little crankier than the right these days. When I rake, I try to switch back and forth between my arms, which is very difficult, because you get used to, you have a dominant side and you get used to that one side. For me, obviously my right is, but my right is my dominant side. So when I rake, it's easier to rake on that side. And then when I switch sides, it's a little more awkward. But it's super important when you're doing any kind of work, really, like even when you're mousing, right? Like I try to switch my mouse, my left to my right. That way I don't overuse the little muscles in my right hand. The left side gets a chance to work too. Used to drive my husband crazy because I switched the mouse, and that was before we had a wireless mouse. So he'd go crazy. Why are you switching the mouse? Anyways, so yeah, important to switch sides. So this side is definitely feeling beat up as well with switching the sides and maybe compensating and not working exactly the way it should because it's not my more coordinated side. So I'm going forward and backward, just little movements. And this side here, I notice a little ropiness. There's a little thump thump as I move forward and backward. So just some tightness through the musculature. It's kind of bound up. Those are areas that that need to be released. So when I talk about being bound up, it's the fascia that I'm talking about. So yeah, we're addressing muscles in those areas, but it's the fascia. Like your muscle can't be tied in a knot, right? We can't tie our muscles in knots. It's the fascia itself that is affected. So fascia, I like to describe it as a kind of like a saran wrap type of lining because it's super, super thin and it runs all through our body. And it's a connective tissue. So it kind of holds stuff together, right? So it surrounds all of our muscle fibers, all the muscle bundles, all the muscles themselves, around our organs. So when it gets tied up in one spot, it's going to affect other spots. So if your lats are super tight or the fascia that surrounds the lats encases the lat muscles it's bound up and restricted, not only is that going to affect the way your lats function and the way the shoulder moves, but it's also going to affect other areas of your body as well, because that connective tissue runs throughout your body. So it doesn't just stop in one area. So you can't just address the lats and be like, oh, it's all done. On the flip side of that is that we might feel an area that is painful, uncomfortable, restricted, whatever that feeling might be for you. And it might not be that area at all that is what you need to address. It might be a totally different area. And that's where the body gets so frustrating. And that's where professionals come in, like myself, to help people figure out where's it coming from. Like, don't just address something because you feel it there, right? So like the lats, like this area today, it might not be even a place that you even thought to address because you didn't feel anything there. But when you get on the ball or the roller, you most certainly feel it, that's for sure. I'm standing here a little bit longer. I'm going to switch that hand position. Oh, yes. Very good. I'm going to move up the armpit just a little bit around the edge, finding some good stuff in there. I have one other area I'm going to show you guys today that is super important as well, but you have to wait for it. When we're done with this, I'll tell you what it is. But you're definitely going to want to hang out for it because it's another area that causes a lot of dysfunction in the body, and it's a hard area to address on our own. So a little bit longer here. I'm going to go down. That's definitely a spot. Oh. Trying to relax, trying to breathe. I think some of you enjoy seeing me in uncomfortable, I won't call it pain, an uncomfortable position, because I work on so many of you that I know are watching or have worked on you guys since I've moved. I haven't worked on you. So sad. All right, I'm gonna give that a break and time is ticking, so let's move on. So the next area we're gonna work on is gonna be that dreaded psoas. You guys all know what I'm talking about, the psoas. How do we address the psoas? Where is the psoas? So the psoas is the only muscle that connects the upper and the lower body together. The psoas, this motion here, when we bend forward, the psoas will come into play. When we bring our knee up, the psoas is gonna come into play. A lot of times it's overactive and tight, but tight doesn't mean strong. Think about that for a moment. Just because something's tight doesn't mean it is strong. Okay, sometimes a tight muscle needs to be strengthened. Another topic for another day. Anyways, today we are going to work on releasing the area. So also, we're going to do it with this ball here. If you don't have a big ball like this, you can use a lacrosse ball, but just be a little bit more careful because that lacrosse ball, with it being a smaller diameter, is going to poke a little bit further into some of these areas. So you just want to be aware of that and maybe not quite go so deep. Also, you want to be aware of a pulsing sensation because we are going to put this in our abdomen, not in our abdomen, literally, on the abdomen. I like to use a kettlebell handle for this. It's a little more intense, a little more masochistic, that's a word. A little more harsh, intense. But today we're going to use this ball here. I'm going to show you to do it. You can also adjust the lower abdominals. So my abdominals have a tendency to be very tight. My rectus abdominis, the six-pack muscle, is really tight usually at my connection. That's not the word I'm looking for today. Brain fart. It must be Monday. So anyways, you can address that with this. But today, psoas, let's talk about it. Find your belly button, okay? From the belly button, we're going to start just over from the belly button, okay? That is where the ball is going to go, okay? And we're going to come down and lay on the ball. You can't really see, can you? Let me move this way. I'm trying to make it best for you guys to see. I'm not sure which direction that's going to be. So here I'm on the ball, and already I can find that tight area. Okay, so again, pulsing, if you feel it pulsing, just shift the ball slightly. You don't want to ever cut off blood flow. And I'm just going to relax and breathe into it. And the more I get down, I'm trying to find a spot for my arm, guys, so you can see what's going on here. This arm, if you're doing it at home, would just be kind of relaxed on the ground. I'm trying to move it out of the way for you so you can see. You can relax the head on your forearm if you'd like. And you're going to take big, deep breaths. Remember, shift the ball to where you feel that tender area or you feel that tense area. You'll know what I'm talking about when you find it. Big deep breath. Exhale and release into the ball a little bit more. I'm just kind of using my hand to support myself and then my leg to kind of release the pressure. So you can put the leg down if you'd like. Increases the pressure a little bit more, or put it up. Okay, so I move my arm over here. So if you feel like your rib cage is in the way over there, so if you're up higher and the rib cage is, you feel like tension or pressure on the rib cage from the ball, you can always move the arm up. Ow, that just intensified the stretch. I just went to a different area. So move the arm up out of the way, and then bringing this leg up a little higher will also kind of stretch that side of the body out. And then just relax into it. Like I said, you can use the lacrosse ball for this. You can also use the handle of a kettlebell. I just was adjusting my body a little bit. So you'll notice sometimes that when you're on that tense spot or the tender spot, that it will, over time, feel not quite so tender. So adjust the ball or the tool accordingly. Okay, let's go ahead and just, for sake of time, go to the other side. You might already feel a difference. I actually already feel a difference in that side. This actually, I went to my tighter side. This is usually the side that gives me a little bit more issue, which is funny because my left side is usually the left shoulder and then the right psoas and right hip. All right, so I'm just to the left of the belly button. Whew, and I spoke too soon because this is definitely tight as well. So I can find a good spot for my head, my arms, so you can see what's going on. Yeah, I spoke too soon. This side has definitely got its own issues going on. Issues going on today. And this might be a spot you never thought to work on. So this might be your first time addressing this spot. Might be kind of an eye-opener for you. If you've got back pain, this is definitely the psoas comes into play. Trying to relax as much as possible. I'm going to shift maybe this arm up just to stretch out the rib cage. And bring this leg up. I think I need to concentrate a little more on this side. That's actually really important too, is that I mentioned that the side you do the work on might not always be the side that is the problem or the spot that's the problem. So even though maybe your right side always gives you issues and you constantly work on that right side, never forget the left side. You always need to work both sides. It may not be as much work on the other side, or maybe it might be more. Sorry, just hit a good spot again. It might actually be more work on the other side, but you don't know that unless you work on it. So never completely ignore the opposite side because that's not the issue that's bothering you, or it's not the side that's bothering you. So I'm just shifting, trying to breathe. Remember, if you feel pulsing, make sure you shift the ball or the tool to a different location. So I'm kind of coming down. I know my lower abdominals are an area of tightness for me. So I just kind of shifted the ball down to that area there. So just kind of grabbing those attachments. That's the word I was looking for. I said connections earlier. Attachment. I knew it would come to me. I'm just going to come on up. Trying to relax into it. Might feel that all the way deep into my hip as well. So totally normal if you guys are working on this. You feel some kind of pressure going through to your back, pressure in your hip, maybe it goes down your leg. As long as it's not like an electrical feeling, definitely normal for you, right? Everyone might feel something different. I push on an area, I feel it go directly into my hip or go into my back, or wherever it goes for me, it might not be the same for you. So if you're feeling something, like I said, it may be completely normal for you as long as it's not electrical. So I'm going to go ahead and come off that. Woo! And definitely feel a difference there. I need to address that more. So those are our two super important spots today. Spots that are hidden, spots that aren't made aware to us by, maybe everyday movement. We don't think about those areas. Maybe we think about them, but we have no idea how to get to them. So we addressed the lats today, and we also addressed the psoas. So any questions for me, feel free to comment, feel free to send me a message. I'm more than happy to answer whatever questions you might have. hope you enjoyed the session today. Enjoy your week. Make it great. I think we have some snow coming up on our way, which I'm super excited about. We are ready. Have a good one, guys. Till next time.